Good day and welcome to West Best Media. A few years ago, many people thought this story was already written. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger was facing sanctions. Regional tensions were rising. The security threats were growing, and many analysts believe it was only a matter of time before the pressure started producing results. But that's not the story we are talking about today. Because today, sanctions are being lifted. The conversation is restarting. And the countries that were expecting to become increasingly isolated are now sitting at the center of one of the Africa's biggest political shift. So what happened? Because something clearly changed between then and now. And to understand that change may explain where West Africa is heading today. Before we continue, subscribe to West Best Media and let me know where you're watching from. I always enjoy seeing how many countries are represented in this community. The original assumption was simple. Pressure would reduce options. Fewer options would create more pressure, and more pressure could eventually force change. On paper, it made sense. But there was one problem. This tragedy depended on three countries becoming more isolated over time. Instead, something very different began to happen. The first surprise came from inside the country themselves. Many observers expect frustration to grow. Instead, large public demonstrations continue appearing in support of the new direction. Across Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, many citizens view the situation differently from how it was being portrayed abroad. For them, this wasn't just about government. It was about sovereignty. It was about who gets to shape the future of their country. That support didn't solve every problem, but it gave the government something important: time. And time allowed them to look for new or other options. While much of the world attention remained focused on sanctions, another story was quietly unfolding. Trade routes began shifting. The port of Loma in Togo became increasingly important. Ghana remained open to engagement. Morocco began offering new Atlantic access opportunity. At the same time, Russia expanded cooperation. China continued strengthening economic relationship across the region. And none of these developments change everything overnight. But together, they create something powerful, because the sanction strategy depends on isolation. The problem, isolation never fully happened. Then came the real test: security. Terrorist attack continues. Violence remains a serious challenge, and many people, this would be the moment when their lines start showing crack. Instead, the opposite happened. The three countries moved closer together. Military cooperation increased. Joint operations become more common. And eventually, plan for a joint AES military force emerges. And that changed the conversation, because the alliances that are under strain usually become weaker. This one become more coordinated. And that forced many observers to rethink what they were seeing. Think about what happened. New partners stepped in. The people didn't turn away. Trade routes stayed open. Terrorist attack pushed the three countries closer together. And the alliance responded by building a deeper military cooperation. What if every pressure point produced the opposite result? Quick questions. Did the turning point came when the AES found new partners, or when three countries began working much closer together? Let me know in the comment, because I'll really like to hear from you and your perspective. All these changes unfold. Another development became harder to ignore. The Sahel wasn't becoming less important. It was becoming impossible to ignore. France saw its influence decline. New actors gained influence, and the geopolitical map began looking very different from the one many policymakers had grown accustomed to. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't about whether the region matters. It was about who would have influence in the region moving forward. And that brings us to where we are today. Sanctions are being lifted. Engagement is replacing isolation. Dialogue is replacing confrontation. Everyone will have their own explanation for why. Some will say this tragedy worked. Others will argue the region simply found another path forward. But one fact is difficult to ignore. The reality on the ground looks very different from what many people expect a few years ago. The alliance remained together. New relationship emerges. Military cooperation deepened, and the region continued to move forward. The reality no longer matched the prediction, and when reality changed, strategically, you usually change with it. History is full of moments where people expect one outcome and got another. This may be one of those moments. What began as a story about sanctions has become a story about adaptation. What began as a story about pressure has become a story of resilience. And what began as a story of regional dispute may end up reshaping the future of West Africa. The question now is no longer whether the region has changed. The question is, what happened next? Will the easing of sanctions lead to greater cooperation? Will the alliance continue to grow stronger? Let me know your thoughts below. If you found value in this analysis, hit the like button, subscribe to West Best Media, and share this video with someone following the development in Africa. The question is no longer whether the region has changed. The question now is how far those change will go. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.